LaNorris Sellers, Cam Newton. This is not a dig at LaNorris Sellers. I want to make this abundantly clear. Most of you know how I feel about LaNorris Sellers and how if you talk to anybody in South Carolina, they will tell you that this kid is special. And they knew he was special. Spencer Rattler did a great job of stabilizing the program for Shane Beamer. But when he left in 2023, a lot of people were understanding about it because he's like, well, we got this kid from Florence, South Carolina, 6'3", can move, can truck a monster, can't have an arm. He's got that it factor, and he does. But now we're seeing pundits and national narratives come on out and saying, built like Cam Newton. And I've tried to make it abundantly clear, but I've even gotten some DMs from people saying, Cole, you're comparing him to Cam Newton. Why are you having this conversation? I'm not trying to compare him to Cam Newton. I'm not. But we have to retire that narrative. There are certain players in the world of college football that we have grown up watching, that we have fallen in love with the game with, that are just never going to be duplicated. Johnny Manziel is one. You can't convince me that there will be another player who stands 6 foot, that moves the way that he does, that can make plays behind the line of scrimmage, improv like no one's business, and then deliver a strike downfield for 6 points. There is just nobody built like Johnny Manziel and what he did for Texas A&M to stabilize them into the realm of the SEC in year one. There's nobody, so we don't compare him. And the same thing goes for Cam Newton. Do you remember the story of Cam Newton? Well, for those of you that have forgotten, let's go ahead and sit on down, have a history lesson. Goes to Florida, was expected to be the starting quarterback at Florida, gets expelled from the university and kicked out of the football team because of the laptop situation. So what does he do? He goes to Blinn Junior College, goes down to Blinn, wins a national title at the JUCO level, the most sought after quarterback prospect at the JUCO level in probably college football history. Mississippi State wants him. They nearly get him. Auburn goes after him. They do get him. Does anybody remember what happened with Auburn the year before? It was dreadful. People were so pissed off down on the plains when they hired Gene Chizik from Iowa State. Like, you think that people were freaking out about the Brian Harsin hire? It was worse with Gene. The guy didn't have a winning record when he was at Iowa State, which made it that much more dreadful. He was 5-19. And then year one, they go 8-5. And they're saying, okay, it's fine. Nothing to write home about, but we can live with it this year. And then they get a quarterback in Cam Newton. And Cam balls out. Just second to none. No questions asked. What he accomplished will never be duplicated. Leads his team to an undefeated season, 8-0 in conference play, a 27-point comeback in the house of Nick Saban in the Iron Bowl against the Crimson Tide. Gets significant wins over teams like Mississippi State, overtime win against Clemson. They beat up on South Carolina. They beat Kentucky. They kill Arkansas when they were the number 12 team in the country. They beat LSU. And it's all Cam. No really big help at wide receiver. No really big help at running back. Decent, not great offensive line. Solid, but nothing to write home about. He ends up throwing for over 2,000 yards. Finishes with 30-plus touchdowns. An average of 10.2 yards per attempt. Wins the Heisman, an All-American, the Walter Camp Payton Man of the Year, and, of course, the Maxwell Award. He also rushes for over 1,400 yards, 20 touchdowns on the ground. He was averaging 105.2 yards per game. On top of that, he also had 1 touchdown reception. No fumbles. He was a lightning bot in a bottle. Did everything right. Everything that you wanted to see. There is nobody who will do that again in the world of college football. Ever. Just ever. Because the game's changed. That was 2010. And remember, Michael Dyer, if his knee goes down, we talk about Cam probably in a different light. Still one of the greatest college football seasons we've ever seen from a player, but definitely not the same respect that we have right now. Cam was a one-man wrecking crew and single-handedly pulled Gene Chizik, along with maybe the help of Nick Fairley and a few other couple of highlight players, Philip Lutzenkirchen, rest in peace to him as well, over the line and into immortality down in the plains of Auburn. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just beginning on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because FanDuel is your home for NBA live betting. Even if you miss the first few minutes of a game or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can make your picks from the first whistle until the final buzzer. Plus, You can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join. New FanDuel customers get started with $150 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet win. Just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Disclaimer: must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, and 18 plus in DC. First online real money wagers only. $5 first deposit is required. Bonus issues with non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. All right, back to the show. I like LaNorris Sellers. I like DJ Lagway. I think both of those players going into next year are two of the rising stars in this sport. And more importantly to me, what that stands for and what that signals is such a good spot for two teams that I like rooting for. I like seeing be good at football. College football is better when the Palmetto Bowl means something. It's better when Florida takes on Florida State or they take on Miami and both teams are ranked. It means something. There's some significance about the world's largest outdoor cocktail party having two top 15 opponents that hate each other inside of Jacksonville. It's something miraculous, and they have the quarterbacks to do that. But there is never going to be a world where in college football today, you will see a player carry their team single-handedly. Joe Burrow was the closest, and even he had two future all-pro wide receivers. He had two future Pro Bowl offensive linemen, and he had several players on the defensive side that would be drafted and pretty much gain significance in the NFL. Like, Joe Burrow was one of the greatest single seasons we've ever seen statistically in college football, and they beat Alabama with that Tua Tagovailoa-led team, and it still is not even in comparison to what Cam Newton did. That's how I personally feel. So I know that people are going to talk about what LaNorris Sellers can be, what DJ Lagway can be, with the arm strength, with the mechanics, with the footwork, with the mobility, with the vision, with how they are able to take over games. But that does not mean that they are the next Cam Newton, because there will never be another Cam Newton. So for the sanctity of everybody that covers this sport, loves this sport, and appreciates this sport, if somebody you know is comparing LaNorris Sellers or DJ Lagway, or for that matter, any quarterback to Cam Newton and what he will be in 2025, I am giving you permission. This is from me. You can tell the police to call me, to backslap them as hard as possible. Or if they are a national analyst doing that comparison, block them on Twitter, give them the bird, and say, have a nice day. And I will defend you for that. Show me proof and evidence. I will get that done. But we are done with the comparisons on one of the greatest college football players to ever exist, to a guy that we still don't know what his full potential is just yet. So please, let's temper our expectations. And also, let's just temper our expectations for both DJ Lagway and LaNorris Sellers, because the last thing I want to see is both of them ending up having underwhelming careers, which really wasn't underwhelming. They just didn't meet the narratives of the fans that said they got to be like Cam Newton or else. Or else what? What's going to happen? You're going to stop rooting for the team on Saturdays? I've heard that story a million times. I'll hear it once again later.